So I thought some of you might like to know about the way that I'm measuring the power coming in from the solar panels. So this is the chart that is created by some custom scripting. But what I essentially have is I have 4 ammeters. You can see the 4 lines going through there. And they are connected into a breadboard that connects into 4 analog inputs on this Arduino. And that connects up to this small Minix computer, which uses about 3 watts of power. It's pretty efficient. And there I'm using a Python script to record how many amps are going through each second. That's going into a MySQL database. And basically, as that data gets logged, my script extracts that data and shows it in this chart. It works pretty well. The ammeters are a little inaccurate, and I don't know if that's the actual ammeters themselves or if the Arduino is bad. But I've got to work out how to get a good 0 reading so that this can be more accurate. It's accurate in terms of, 10 watts is roughly 10 watts, but it's not accurate when we come over here. I actually had to add some logic to 0 this out, but you can see this is jumping around and there's no power production, there's no sunlight at 2 or 3 a.m., so you really shouldn't be doing that. So why would you want to do this? Well, if you can look at a whole day view, you can compare how you're doing day to day, and you can also check to see how the panels are performing. Now, I keep swapping things around, so it looks a little funky, but there is a common pattern here that at least one of the lines is practically sitting at 0. It just isn't producing any power. And, you wouldn't know that. I mean, you might know it because you might have it running through a watt meter, but if you have multiple panels, you wouldn't know which one is performing and which one isn't. And if you have 4 panels hooked up in parallel, and they don't have diodes, one panel could be pumping power through the other panel and wasting it all. So having this data in front of you is really helpful. And it also allows you to spot things like here, at the beginning of the day, the sun wasn't up here, but yet we started to draw power, and I think that power is coming from, the power is going to the charge controller while it tries to extract power from the panels, but we don't really get enough sunlight to extract power until we get here. So we're consuming power here instead of bringing power in. And then the other thing you can see is the curve is kind of funky, and that's probably because the panels are sitting facing south, but to each side of them is a 6-foot fence, which really blocks the sunlight. So we don't even really start producing power until we get to about 12 o'clock. Now today, I didn't wipe the panels off. I didn't wipe the snow off the panels until around this time, so it's hard to record the discrepancies. But maybe with the snow, maybe we started producing power here, and maybe the snow hit the panels, and then I cleaned it off. And so you can see, you can start to make a story, and you can really figure things out. And the other thing to note is that these are the watt meters that you can purchase. For example, this one, they seem to record the watt hours well, but they don't seem to give you a very good instantaneous view of how much power you have coming in. Because you can see that's telling us, well, maybe you can't see, but it's saying about 1.1 watts, kind of jumping around there, about 1/10 of an amp. But if you look at the ammeter, can we get a focus? Well, the ammeter is saying that we're bringing in about 1/4 of an amp. And that really reflects well with what the graph says. If we go to a minute-by-minute view, you can see the dark gray says about 4 watts, and that seems to me that that's much more accurate. And so sometimes you can be bringing in power, and that watt meter may not even tell you that you're bringing in power. So this gives you a much more accurate view, and I think that if you're going to invest in solder or start playing with solder, that you really need this data to be able to work out what's going on.